Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Guitar Underground podcast. I'm your host, Neil Santos from the Pentatonic Way. And this is a first episode, brand new podcast dedicated to creation, education, and inspiration as it pertains to the guitar. So I'm excited to bring this to you, talk about it, see where it goes. That brings me to, our topic for today, goals. Goal setting, understanding your goals. It's the beginning of 2026, and it's just a good time to think about your goals as they pertain mostly to the guitar here. You may have other goals in life, exercise goals, career goals, stuff like that, but we're going to be talking about guitar goals today. So, do you have any? Do you like goals? I have to tell you that my view on goals or relationship on goals has changed over the years. I remember, when I was younger, I would just do stuff. I didn't really have goals. I would be like, oh, that looks interesting, or this looks interesting. I'd just do things. And then after I got out of college, at Berkeley, it was school. Up until then, they kind of set goals for you. You have to do this by a certain date. You have to do that. And goals are very clear, right? But once you get out into the world, things change. And my first experience with goals was after graduating Berkeley, I got a job in healthcare, right? Health insurance, actually, in a corporate setting. And then they talked about goals, and you had to set your goals, and you had to meet goals, and they had to be, attainable and measurable and all these things. And that just rubbed me completely the wrong way. I was just like, no. And I don't know why. Maybe I had a fear of failure at that point. And if I set a goal and I didn't make it, what would that say about me? Would that crush me emotionally as a 20-year-old, whatever? At this point, at 50, I've failed enough that I'm no longer scared of it. You know what I mean? Like, you just keep going. You just keep, working towards whatever it is you're working on. It doesn't really matter. Just chalk it up to a lesson learned, right? You either win or you learn. That's what I always tell my kids. They probably hate hearing it, but it's true, I think. Nowadays, though, goals, I like them. I try to set them. I don't put a whole lot of pressure on myself to be, if I don't make it to the goal, I'm not going to beat myself up. Someone said, shoot for the stars. And if you miss, at least you got to the moon, right? So at least you're going in a direction. That's how I view it. It's not so much you need to be there by the end date of your goal. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you what my goals are for this year. This podcast is part of those goals. I want to begin. That's why I was like, I don't know if I'm ready right now to start this, but I'm going to do it. Just get this ball rolling. I got a new mic to try to improve the audio for my smooth as velvet voice. I can always lie to myself. But yeah, I think that doing the podcast and let me roll it back a second. Sometimes what I've learned is good to have an overarching theme for your goals, right? And my theme for this year, as I've come to thinking about my goals, is relationships, right? I want to build more relationships as it, attaches to my guitar playing, right? I feel like my guitar playing is pretty good at this point, and I have a few goals for that, but more importantly, I want to build relationships around my guitar playing. So a podcast, I want to meet more guitar players out there in the world and help them and see what I can help them with. At this point, I just want to, I know it's cliche, but I want to give back, right? I've learned a lot. I've done a lot. And I want to pass that on. So build relationships with guitarists. I want to build relationships with other podcasters and YouTubers and get into that world. That's part of my goal for this year. Another goal of mine is to get out there and perform more. I have a project I do where I cover Beatles songs, and I call it While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I arrange everything for guitar except for the drums and the bass, because it's like a trio situation, not so much like a solo finger picking thing. I feel like that's been done, and it's been done well, and it's not really what I want to do. I want to do something different. So I've arranged like 30 tunes last year or the year before. I've built it up, and that was part of the goal last year. So now I want to get out there and start performing that. And I have ideas. I want to do it as a trio. I want to do it as a solo act. I also do it at nursing homes to try to give back, like I was saying. And they love it. Though sometimes I get heckled by them. They're the worst. So I remember, I'll tell you a story. Once I was playing at this nursing home, and it's the Beatles, right? I'm playing Beatles songs. Obviously, the Beatles songs, you can hear that. And this one lady was like, "Why doesn't he play anything that we know?" And so I threw something at her. I did not. No, I didn't do that. But I was like, seriously? This is the Beatles. You should know this. It's your era. Anyway, I digress. I want to do more of that. I want to perform more. I want to get out there more. I like to perhaps invest in some cool lights, like the DMX lights, the one you can program. I think that would be cool to have just two lights that do like 6 things each. I've seen them on TikTok, and I'm like, that's cool. I think that would be enough to get something going. I already have a bunch of videos that sync to the beat, and I'd like to have the lights, and I think that would be pretty sick. Even if it's like a solo show, just me playing the backing tracks. I feel like that would be entertaining enough to be worthwhile to watch, right? Which is all I can hope for. So those two things, the podcast and the performing, those are my big goals. For the podcast, I'd like to talk about topics that will help you guys, as well as give my own kind of spin on some concepts and ideas and how I see, how guitar relates to other things in life. Also, I'd like to start interviewing people. That's like a huge part of it. So I have to start reaching out. And a lot of my goals are going to involve me reaching out and taking a chance and emailing people and contacting people and saying, "Hey, do you want to come on my podcast? I'd love to talk to you. I think you have a really interesting story." Or, reach out to venues or, activities directors and be like, "Hey, I have this show. I think it'd be fun. I played it. I have a lot of footage of it. And everybody always has a good time. Let's talk. Let's chat." And some of those emails, most probably are going to go unanswered, or, but part of my goal is to just be persistent and resilient and just keep pushing ahead, So there's that. My goal is to build up the community within the Pentatonic Way, which is like my membership site. If you don't know, we focus on using the pentatonics, that simple 5-note scale, to its utmost and getting the most out of it. And really, because my belief is that the 80-20 rule, right? It's that 20% of music knowledge. It's that 20% of music knowledge that will make it so you can play 80% of music, right? So if you're just playing rock and pop and blues and country and all this stuff, basically all you need is the pentatonics, and you just have to learn how to use them properly and like re-aim them for the different chords rather than just play one over everything. But that's not my goal. I've already built that. That was my goal for last year. My goal now is to let people know about it, and that'll help them. And yeah, part of that goal is the relationship building and getting out there. I like to reach out to other YouTubers and stuff. I put together a cool workshop on, maximizing or, transforming your practice time. It's called the Strum Method. And I want to go, give that workshop to other people's audiences and help them out and get to know people, building relationships. So anyway, those are my main goals for this year. Once I release this, I'm on my way to already kind of getting the podcast out there, and that will help me to reach out to other people and say, hey, look, I got this podcast. Why don't you come on it? We'll celebrate you. We'll talk about what you're doing. And let's get to know each other, So I'm excited about that. Now, what about your goals? What are your goals for guitar? Do you have any? Everybody's goals can be different depending on where they are in their journey, right? If you're just starting guitar, your goals might be to learn the open chords, right? And to make them sound clean. That's like your first goal. And try to memorize them, A, B, C, D. That's what I used to do it at first. It was one of my first goals. I didn't know it was a goal, but I'm always been pretty good at all right, what's the thing I have to learn? All right, I'm going to learn how to play through A through G, all the open chords, and then A minor through G minor, all the open chords, A7 through G7, all the open chords. And then you run into the B chord and the F chord, right? So then you start getting into bar chords, right? So when you can do that, now you're like, okay, I want to be able to do bar chords, right? Or maybe the step before that is I'm going to be able to switch between any of those open chords quickly, so I can just switch and not miss a beat when I'm playing a song. And then you start just going back and forth between C and G, C and G, C and G. That's your goal. I want to get that. Now, E and A, E and A, E and D, E and D, A and D. You break them up into groups. So that's how you kind of set your goals depending on where you are. That's at the very beginning. Maybe after that, you learn some songs, right? And you start to memorize them. And depending on what you want to do with it, maybe then you're like, all right, at this point, I should start to learn how to kind of sing the song while I'm strumming. I never did this. I don't really have the great singing voice, but that could be your goal. If that's the path you want to go down, there you go. Or you can say, okay, I just want to learn more songs, or I want to understand what these chord progressions are and start looking into theory. You know what your goals are. What I would like is if you can comment on your goals in the, below, and then in a year, I'll follow up with you. If you want accountability, I'll reach out and say, hey, how'd that go? Remember a year ago? In December, I'll be like, hey, remember a year ago? You were thinking of this. You want to do this. How'd that go? And even if you didn't do it, at least we're making a conversation. You're reminded of what your goal was, and maybe you reset and you try again next year. But I think that would be fun. I'm going to do another video or episode at the end of the year and kind of look at this year's goals and see how it went, and be honest and, open about it and, see how far I got with it. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your goals are, and let me help you, stay on track for that anyway, in some way. I want to talk about one more thing that people say can help you reach your goals. And I've tried it, and it might seem hokey. All right. But what's the harm in trying? And that's vision boards. Okay. So what a vision board is you have your goals that you want, and you can put together this visual representation of it. So say you want to learn the chords. Maybe you put the chords up there in the chord grid. So maybe it shows a person strumming a guitar, right? If you want to get into a band, you have a picture of a band up there on a nice stage with lights where you want to be, aim high with these, Don't say, oh, I just want to be a band in a, just a working band in a VFW, just playing. That's an amazing life. I know a lot of people that do that, but say you want to, if you want to aim higher than that, say, I want to play a stadium. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it works, but whatever image inspires you and you connect to that goal is going to be the right one. You can do this by cutting images out of magazines and sticking them on a board. That's how it used to be. I'm pretty good at Photoshop, so I would just find a bunch of stuff online. You can go to Canva, and just make a vision board. And the main part of it is that it's visible. Put it somewhere that you see every day. Like if you can put it where you brush your teeth, and none of your family members have a problem with that. And when you're brushing your teeth, you're looking at this and you're just like visualizing it and imagining how it feels to be there. You're connecting with your goal. Or put it in your office, or put it somewhere that you see it all year, right? I did this before, and I had things on there like, buy a house, have a family. It had a family of 4 far away, so you couldn't see how they were. So it could have been us. But, wife, 2 kids. And I'm like, yeah, maybe whatever. We're on bikes. We're out in the world. There was guitar on there, a bunch of stuff. And then like a year or 2 later, I looked at it again, like it just faded into the background. Like it's on my wall. I don't really see it. But then every once in a while I'd look at it, and subconsciously it must have been doing the work, because I was like, oh my God, like a lot of these things have come true, which is cool. So vision boards. And I want to tell you about another cool thing. This year that I did, I took that to the next level. So I don't know if you ever heard of Sora. It's like visual AI generation, video generation, and you can put yourself in it, right? So I said, hey, maybe this would be a cool way to do a vision board. I hadn't done one in a while, and I really have some goals I want to meet this year. So what I did is I created my profile picture or whatever. It says, look at the camera, say these 3 different numbers, turn your head to the side like this. And that's all it needed. And it created a visual of me looking like myself, which is crazy. Just that fast. But then what I could do with that is take that avatar and then say, unpacking a new mic and trying it out, and then interviewing some famous guitar players. And it created some famous guitar players that look like famous guitar players. And, so I took all these and I kind of spliced them together in CapCut. And now I have a vision board, and I put it on a Google Task, right? In the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. So it comes up on my notifications. It says, visualization video. I just click on it, watch the video. It takes a couple minutes, and it feels good. I like watching it because they're exciting things. I can imagine myself doing this. I can imagine how I feel doing it. And I think that's the main thing. So I feel like this is even more impactful than a vision board that's just static and it fades into the background. This is something that you're aware of, and it keeps popping up. Now, I do it 3 times a day. It's the same video. Lately, I've been thinking, all right, I'm going to make one for the morning, for the afternoon, and for night. How do I want to see my life in the morning by the end of the year? What do I want to be doing? Where do I want to be waking up? How do I want the pace to go, right? And then in the afternoon, what am I doing for work? And like what type of things am I, doing in the afternoon? Anyway, and then at night, how am I winding down? Where am I winding down? I tried to, the only drawback is I can't put in family members. I'd be like, oh, hanging out with my wife, whatever. It's never my wife. It's just some lady. I'm like, so maybe someday we'll figure that part out. But so that's an idea you can totally take. It's called Sora, Sora. And if you do that, let me know. I'd love to see, don't show me yet though. Keep this to yourself. And then at the end of the year, you can share it. I can share some of mine with you, but I don't know. I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that right now because I aimed high. And and I feel silly going like, oh, look at this. But at the end of the year, we'll see where I get. And I'll be, perfectly happy to share that with you guys. Yeah, that's all I had for goals this year. Comment below what your goals are. And hopefully you reach them. And if there's anything I can do to help you reach them, let me know. I'm here for you guys. I really appreciate you watching and listening. And yeah, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Like and subscribe, tell people, share with a friend. I don't know. Anyway, keep on picking, really. That's the main thing. Have fun, enjoy life, and I will see you in the next episode. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.